Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Creative Insider Podcast number 58 with me, Georgi. In this podcast episode, I had the pleasure to talk to the Italian car designer and podcaster Cristofaro di Puorto. Chris has studied in Turin and has professional experience in France and Italy before moving to Japan. He's also the founder of the CDP Podcast, the podcast about car design, and a podcast that I really suggest you to try. But before we start the conversation, I want to thank you for listening to this podcast, and I want to remind you that if you want to support the podcast, you can do that for free by just subscribing to the platform you're listening to, if it's possible, and of course, leaving a good review. If you would like to stay in touch with what is going on the show without needing to listen every single episode or checking our social media channels, and so that we can stay in touch with you whatever it happens, you can subscribe our newsletter on thecreativeinsider.com. By doing so, you're getting also a free guide about how to organize your digital filing system. So I suggest you to do that. Another great way to support us is, of course, spreading the word with your friends, colleagues, and family. And of course, by following our social media channel, which are at TCI Podcast, which is Instagram, and the LinkedIn page, The Creative Insider. If you can, you want, and you really think that our podcast gives you some extra value and you enjoy our guests and stories that we try to bring up on the table, and you want us to improve the quality, make a video podcast, buy better mics, you can support us with a little financial support on Patreon. You'll find a link in the description. And you'll be able to pay us $5 a month, or if you think that's too much, you can go there and set up another amount of money. And as soon as possible, I will be deciding what will be the perks for all the people that are subscribing. For now, consider it like the hat of a digital street artist, so where you can put some little money. But yeah, that's enough for now. I don't want to take more of your time. Just enjoy the conversation with Cristofaro di Puorto.
The whole world stops just like that.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me in this podcast. Yes, I'm fine. Yeah, everything is good.
I was thinking before recording the podcast that you are the first guest that we are doing intercontinental, but in the other direction, because you're connected from Japan. And you're not Japanese, but you're connected from that side of the world. So, Chris, you can introduce yourself a little bit to the audience and tell people what you do.
Yes, of course. So, hi everybody. I'm Cristofaro di Puorto, but everybody call me Chris, especially in Japan because my name is too long. So, I'm a car designer, but basically, let's say I'm a designer. I'm focusing in design interior of cars. In this current moment, I'm in Japan, which I'm living and working there. I studied in Italy first. When I studied in IAD, Istituto Arte Applicata Design, I had several experience during my work and lifestyle. I've been also in France, which I had the internship for Renault design. Then I moved I back to Italy. I worked for some Italian company, like Consultancy Italian design company. And now I'm in Japan. It's an amazing experience. Like I moved everywhere and now I'm here. Yes. Currently I'm in Japan. And I'm designing cars, interior.
When I started the podcast, it was always something that I was thinking to do. It's interviewing a car designer. because for me the car design is very fascinating, especially but someone that lives in Germany. Here, like the Germans are crazy about cars, and they have all these companies, and every city that hosts one of the companies has museums. Like I've been to the Mercedes Museum, to the BMW Museum. I've been to in Wolfsburg. They have it's called the Car City. So I visited the whole car city. I've never had the chance here next to me, a few kilometers away. There is the Opel Museum also.
Oh.
And I need to visit the Audi Museum yet. But and I've been to Modena, of course, when I was in Italy, and visit the Museum of Ferrari. So for me, this has been a very interesting world, because it's similar to architecture but way more like futuristic, way more I don't know. I was curious to explore the behind the scenes of this industry, but I start every time. I want to understand since the beginning of your life, when was the moment in your life where you were sure you wanted to attempt a professional career as a car designer? How this passion started, when in your life? And yeah.
Let's say I want to start. Everything starts since I was a kid, basically. That's crazy because I really love the cars. Everyone starts with this kind of dream about cars. And also I had a kind of creative knowledge behind, I can say, thanks to maybe my mom. And I started when I was 6 to draw my first cars with the wheels. Of course, there was a perfect proportion. And then I continue. I had, every time I had this passion, like when I studied, also I was in high school, I was continuing to draw cars. For example, there was the teacher that explained the history. I'm sorry for her, but in that moment, even though she was explaining, I was dreaming my cars in the paper. So every time I was drawing. And what's happened? I can say the magic moment happened when I was 18 years old. I can say honestly that before that, I didn't know anything about existence of car design school. So I was 18, and one time my friends give me some kind of paper, like information paper, when you want to decide your future. And he say, Chris, your design, you every time always draw cars. You like cars. Wow, I found this for you. And I say, wow, there is existence of this. And I start to make, I start to take information. And I say, oh, wow, there are car design school. Of course, it's not like university. So there are private school and are almost a bit expensive. I tried several, and at the end, there was this school that the name is IAD, Istituto Arte Applicata and Design in Turin, which I found okay. I say to my parents, I say, I want to go there if there is possibilities. So they say, okay, we feel you want to go, we help you. And I can tell you, I was lucky, because I see about many people, they were not lucky. For me, it was a kind of be lucky to do what I want. I say, wow, I'm designing, I will be a car designer. So it's something that I was dreaming since I was 6 years old. And then I started and
How did you express? I mean, because it's not uncommon for boys. Also, me, when I was a kid, I was very much passionate about cars, and I would draw cars. I would check in these newspapers all the commercials of cars. I knew all the brands, all the models. Did you have also this kind of passion, or you just had the passion of the shape of the cars, or were you also passionate about races like Formula 1 is very popular in Europe especially? What were the kind of how did you show your passion for cars? A part of was all these things also, or?
I think it's connected, but I want to make point that is really important. I feel now I'm growing, and I feel like I'm not only a petrol head. It means I'm not only passionate about cars. I love cars. I had a passion, as you said, as you asked me, for example, about Formula One. My family support. We are supporter of Ferrari. So it's kind of really easy for Italian. And every time there was this kind of Sunday waiting for the race, and still now I'm a supporter. So it's a kind of passion you have inside. But of course, it's like also, let's say I had a passion for cars, but also it was like when you see something, I had also passion for shape. It was interesting that the first object I really liked, that creating my fantasy, was not like a really car that everybody likes. It's really a car of Fiat. I would like. It was a just a common car, and I was just fascinated. Just I was in that moment. There was like, oh, I want this car. I want the car model. But in that moment, it was so difficult to find that the car model. My father went crazy, and I start to draw it because I start to develop my creativity, and I start to draw it. Since I started, I start to draw it every time. And I can say before I was more into the current car, but now since the time is going ahead, I really love it. Also the classic cars, everything can have a moment. So let's say I developed a lot.
I understand. I understand. But which model of Fiat was your favorite one?
You will laugh a lot.
I'll guess the Multipla.
No, before Multipla, do you know the Fiat Marea?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Let's say it was not the most beautiful car in the world, but I don't know why in my mind I want to draw this. I want to draw this car. It was when I tell this story in university, because in my first year there was a kind of course that they asked to us which is the object create, insert you the creativity, help to you to become what do you want to do. And it was that when I say this in front of my professor, so it was oh, really? I was in, so everybody can say maybe the Panda or a Ferrari or everything. You're saying something that is completely out of the box. I was like this.
So, oh yeah, I remember this car. I think my aunt had this car. Basically, they have had many cars which have the same front but the different back.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's that was also from the, so to say, worst year of Fiat, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. In that period of time, Fiat was not doing great at all, and then they did Fiat 500, and then they started going up again. But I'm curious, like, what was how did you get accepted into this school? Like, what did you need to do? Did you need to apply with a portfolio, or you just needed to pass a test, subscribe, and yeah?
Just is when it was 2011. So I don't know now, many things are changed, so I really don't know. But when I processed, so I just sent it a kind of bunch of sketches I had. And also they were making a kind of contest, I remember, for having a kind of scholarship. I just sent everything. Of course, I didn't was hoping to get the scholarship. I sent all my stuff and I say, I want to enter in this school. How can I get inside? They just reply after a few weeks. I send everything. After a few weeks, they reply to me and they say, okay, Chris, you can come to visit our school. We can have an interview to see your attitude. We want to explain how is this school. I call school not university because I learned really a lot. I can say I learned a lot. The process is completely different from university. It's really practical. And yes, I was like, wow, I made the interview. It was like 2 hours and a half of interview. I'm still friend with the guy who make me the interview. He's a really, and it was really, I mean, tough, because he said to me, if you join here, you need to remember that every Saturday, Sunday, you will draw. You will not go to skiing in the mountain, or you will not to play soccer game, or you will not. So you need to stay really focused. I said, okay, no problem. I don't like skiing. And I enter in there, and I say, okay, let's go, let's do it. So then, after this first phase, there was another step. I passed the second step, and I was inside. Of course,
what was the second step?
it was another interview, just because in that moment they were designing. There were two different courses, but now it's cancelled. There was transportation design course and mobility. Mobility. I don't remember really well the name. They just want to know which were your attitude. But I can tell you, I decide. They say we will just prove your attitude. Then you can also decide. There is no problem. It's really easy. There is. So, but then I decide to. When they accept me, and then I decide to join to transportation design. That basically is the same course.
What is the difference? Yeah, what is the difference between?
It was now they canceled. Unfortunately, I think it was one of the most advanced things, because there was one of the first school in Italy having this course. It was mobility system, thinking not only about the car process but all the mobility system around. That I think now, with the development of what is happening in this moment, I think is really important. It's just, I mean, the problem was it was experimental process, so that was a bit problematic, because I saw the student of that course, they didn't have possibilities maybe to focus more on sketching, because they have a lot of more hours, so they have like 3 lessons more than me, than transportation design course, and it was a bit hard. I can understand, but I can tell you, I think now mobility are really interesting. It's something that, let's say, I'm talking about car design, but let's say in design process is something is really important, because we have to think about the system and the process, and not only about the object that is a car. Of course, I'm passionate about cars, but now we have to think how we can use this car or this object.
Let's not run too fast. I want to understand more about like your formation, and then we'll go deeper into your process nowadays, because it's interesting to see. Because I've seen, like, you said it's quite expensive to study at this school. Can you tell us more a little bit what were the range of things that how much it cost, and what were the costs, and also like if this school also offers some sort of scholarships and things like that?
So when I started, I think it was cheaper than now. I really don't know the actual situation. Let's say, I don't really remember, but of course it was more than a common university. And of course there was a scholarship, but there was like a contest scholarship. Just 3 guys win the scholarship, which are my friends currently, and they are working in the car industry. I mean, it's around, if I remember well, I don't remember.
Rough numbers are okay.
Okay, around 5,000 euro for a year.
Okay.
And I can tell you, it was one of the cheapest solution. I'm talking about car design school, because if you go in America, in US, it's like I heard about art design. The school in Pasadena, for example, is $50,000.
Yeah. They have crazy.
It's crazy, no?
Yeah. But how many years was it? 3, 2?
Mine was 3 years.
3 years.
Yes.
Okay. And then of course you need to consider that you need to move to live in Turin. You need to.
Exactly.
You will need to have some expenses on, I don't know, papers, computers.
Computers, everything. Everything, exactly. You need to buy a new PC because in that moment you arrive there and you need a PC with a good Photoshop. I mean, you need a powerful PC because you have to use Photoshop, 3D program. Also, you need something that is portable and personal. So, I mean, that's the solution. The expense for me, I can say is expensive. Even though there are more school more expensive, but it was expensive because my parents pay for me, and I say thank you for that every time. It was a kind of really investment, but of course everyone can invest on themselves. So
Yeah, also because as you have said, like you don't have any free time, so it's very hard to work and study in the same time. I don't know if you have had any like experience like this, or some of your friends have been able to work and study in the same time, especially car design. I guess it's very hard.
it was really difficult to. I mean, all of my colleagues and friends, they were just doing that. I remember it's really rare, but someone is doing. I remember also. I can tell you to go in this kind of school. Some people like maybe they sell the car to enter because, and it was really appreciable because it was like people with big passion. And now these people working in the as industrial designer or as car designer, so they're working in this field and are really able. So they invest a lot in their talent, but the problem was like you don't really have time to do anything else. But of course, for me, it was a pleasure because I really love the 3 years in university. They were amazing. I had amazing. There were amazing people around me. The atmosphere was really good. I never regrets that. I never. I really. It was like a dream, realizing your dream, and it was one of the happiest period of my life. Let's say.
And okay, you arrived there, you got accepted, and you started. So, what were the first few months, the first year? What do they teach you? Because every time I see, for example, car designers, sketches, and concepts, they look always super crazy. So you guys must be super good at drawing, I guess. So you'll need to learn a lot of that. What were the first things that you learned in a school for car designers?
So let's say the first years was not really into the car design, especially the first semester were really focused on basic design. That's why we had the same class with the people of industrial design. So for 1 year, basically, we had the same course with the industrial design people. And it was interesting, but it was really hard for me because you enter in a field that is design, and also you have the set of your mind is just you want to draw car, you want to sketch car as a crazy, but doesn't work like that. You need first to learn the basic, and basic design means like just making a basic shape on paper with the Copic marker. You have also to understand the rendering technique, everything by hand. And I can tell you, I was not really able. It was like that first period, it was really hard. But I don't know how can I say. I enjoyed everything because after that, this is in your mind, so you can use every time you need. And yes, that's was all. It was basic design. Was there was also sketch for there was the sketching class, and I still remember my teacher that he was super tough. He was giving a lot of quantity because his idea was quantity will make quality. Because for him, it was important to reach a good hand. And then, for example, in the second semester, already we were start to focusing on more on the okay, we are continuing to learn the basic design part, but we were just already focusing on more conceptual part. But let's say first year was more focused on learning everything, and then second year was more focused on all course of pure car design, like exterior design course, like you sketch exterior of cars. Interior design, you learn about the interior. And then there were Photoshop, Alias, 3D modeling. It was really important. All this stuff that can create a complete designer, let's say. And at the end, the third year was more focused on like reaching a good level, like a professional level. That means you have like the teacher was not already almost teaching you perspective. Already you must know that how to draw perspective of car, or how to draw cars in a professional way. And it was like a simulation of the job, of the real job. Like we make the first step, sketching phase, then we make the more step with Photoshop, and then we go to the final rendering with a big presentation, with this big printing. We print this, our big car. It was really sensational. And also we didn't also do cars. We had also a motorcycle course that was really interesting. For me, it was really hard, but I can say, if I can come back sometimes, I would love also to have more focusing on that. Because like, let's say the taste changed a lot during time. But it was like this.
And you were someone that have been drawing his whole life cars and have been definitely passionate about it. And you have had your personal experience, as an amateur, as a passionate. What were, for example, sketching wise or drawing wise, the things that was there some lessons that you got about drawing per hand or by sketching in these classes where you thought, oh, now this thing, it's a game changer because you have done it like on your own, on your feeling? And was there some technique or something that they taught you at the university that it made you really way better? Or it was just about that you have been focused 24/7 to draw, and then you got to be good?
I would like to answer in this way. The first step, especially the first year, I focused a lot on how to learn to sketch, because I really, compared to my colleagues, I really had a passion, but I didn't have the hand. I mean, my studies before this university were not something in artistic field or something connected to design. Nothing. It was scientific studies. So it was not really disconnected. So that's why my first period, I was really 24/7. Really, I can say. And I failed a lot. I failed, but I never stopped. I said, I never give up. And also I spent, for example, my first year was terrible. I'm not hiding. I mean, not that I was still not skilled. What I've done, I spent my summer, I took a plick of paper and I start to say, okay, I should spend my summer just drawing, because one, I like, I liked. And two, yes, you can feel the improvement. Every day you sketch, every day you feel the improvement. And it's like your brain is became more open, because now you start to understand, okay, now I draw the basic cube, but now this cube is becoming a car. And also you develop some technique. You make your own technique to how to draw. And then I continue to develop my skills until the third year, but I'm still developing my skills. I'm still learning. I never stop. That's the trick. Of course, you need to be creative. It's like, no, you draw the current car. No, you need to be really out of the box, because everything doesn't start to draw something with four wheels. You need to concept and focus more on the concept.
Yes, I have seen some of your drawings and they're like barely something that you could recognize. You can recognize some motif or motion shape, but it's not really a car in some of the concept you have done. And you said you have done a lot of Photoshop and 3D modeling. So which software did you use to do the 3D models on the computer? And what do you do in Photoshop? It's sort of matte painting or something like that. So what is the digital the digital drawing part of the job? Which softwares? And if like, what did you learn back then, and what do you use in your professional work? What is the industry standard, if there is any? If you can share a little bit more about the software part.
Yeah. Let's say about the software, the must to use in a car design company is Photoshop, because we are drawing all digital. Because in this moment, in this current period, Photoshop is the tool that can allows you to make things really faster. You can be there are some steps that you can be also be creative, but there are some steps you need to be a little bit more rigid when you make a rendering. So real rendering is a little bit different from a creative part, and it's also more in industry is more something. It depends by the workflow of the company. Many company has different way, but of course Photoshop is the must tool. And about 3D modeling, software about 3D modeling. When I was student, I learned Alias and Rhino. But Rhino has more an usage more for industrial design. Let's say it's easy to use, but Alias is more Alias in automotive version is the Alias Autodesk Automotive. That is like more. Let's say if you are a designer, you can use for. It depends which is more really technical, and that's why there is this in our industry we are designer part. There is the designer part and the modeling part, which there is the modeler that you take your sketch, your drawing, your rendering, and then you realize the 3D modeler, and with the modeler you follow the process, and then you develop in many different way. Still depends by the company. For example, once the model is done, the model will be milled, and then you can follow a clay model process, and you continue. You can go back and make a kind of fixing. But this is the most technical part. I think now in car design, some programs that are really useful for designers, especially if you want to draw car, is tools like Blender or alias Maya, that they have this kind of sub-D style of modeling that are really useful for designers who want to express their shape in a fast way in 3D. Because they are really fast. Like with Alias, if you want to do your car, maybe you need 1 week by yourself. But with this program, if you are in one day, you can create something and you can understand really well how the object is going. And then also the rendering step is really fast to use. Yes, basically this is, I can say, is the tools we are using in the current moment in the company.
And in Photoshop, do you use Photoshop with some like tablet, graphic tablet with which you draw directly in Photoshop, or you just post-produce some sketches you do by hand? What kind of use you do of Photoshop?
Okay, about Photoshop, we have this kind of tablet. The most important brand is Wacom, everybody knows, but it depends. I like to use the both, because there is the normal tablet, and there is the one is the screen one, they call the Cintiq. That is like a big screen, and you directly draw. It depends by your skills and your workflow. Some people really like to draw directly on Photoshop. My style, I use also to, for example, take a sketch, draw a sketch, and on this sketch, then I put color, material. It depends, of course, which is the target and the focus, and I will finish on Photoshop to make let's say a beautiful realization of that work. That is the most important.
When you mentioned like car renderings, you meant like highly realistic Photoshop collages where you apply materials to parts or to the car, or you just meant like rendering within the 3D program which renderize it and then you do some adjustments in Photoshop?
This depends by the process, but the most process you mentioned the kind of part of collage. Let's say I don't use to call collage because some people are really able to just take a drawing and make a rendering. Some other people are really able to make a collage and realize some ideas. That's for the rendering process.
But because I'm asking you about the rendering, because in architecture, what we call rendering is like we build a 3D model of the building in a software, which can be Rhino, can be 3ds Max, can be Cinema 4D. And then we have apply materials in that software, and we have rendering engines that calculate light and everything. And for example, V-Ray, and then what comes out is like a virtual picture. Is the same what you mentioned, or it's something slightly different?
No, I feel a bit different. For example, what you mentioned, we can use, for example, in the step when you are developing your design and you have the 3D model and you want to fix something. This is possible. But after that, you take the rendering and you pass to the modeler, the CAS modeler, and it will make the adjustment on the 3D. But it's completely, I think, a different process. It depends. Could be also this process, as you mentioned, could be possible. But what I've done until now in the current company, it was not possible for me. So we never use this. I more used the part like more collage, let's say collage style. Like you take the picture, you use the wheelbase, or you use, it depends, interior, exterior, but you will use a kind of picture, and from that picture you develop your design.
I understand. And what I'm curious also about the process in car design, and if you got taught this at the school you went, is like what differentiates to me car design from architecture is that architecture, it's more like static. We have a building and we can within the regulations and the needs of the city, we can shape the building, and then all the engineers which bring in all the climatization, electricity and things like that adapt to the form. But cars are moving, a lot of moving parts. The car move itself. There is a lot of safety. There is a lot of aerodynamics. There is a lot of different engineering. Like, let's say the biggest part of the car is also the engine, because without engine, the car doesn't move. So what kind of knowledge you have to know connected to the engineering? Like, how does it work in the process of building a new car? Do you first fix the shape and then the engineers need to work within this shape and figure out where to put the different parts? And also, like, you have to know some aerodynamics, I guess, because I don't know, if you design a car which is very inefficient, maybe will consume a lot of fuel. I don't know.
No, that's interesting, because sometimes it's like a lot of people is wondering that how it works, and I try to be, let's say, really explaining in a really simple way. I want to separate like the designer from the engineer. Like the designer has, of course, must, when you follow design process, you must talk with the engineer. That's absolutely, because let's say it depends, of course, by the project, but sometimes when you have to draw, I'm talking about interior, you have a kind of regulation to follow. That means you will have a package, and in this package you have to build the structure of the interior. That it doesn't mean it's just styling. but also you can make some innovation and try to make some put some innovation inside. I'm talking about the interior because my focus is interior. And also we don't need to forget that in interior of cars, so a person must be inside, so you need to think everything around the human being. But let's also focus on about exterior. Exterior, you have a kind of package given by the project. Basically, is an engineer decide, for example, where the engine should stay. So I cannot decide, but of course, I'm I have to bring some solution around this package. I have to like make a dress, but I cannot say, or again, I don't say that's only styling, because you can also think about like solution. As you said, you can find many solution about aerodynamics or many other things. I mean, you have if the project is really open, the designer will create something really beautiful. Of course, sometimes there are limitations and we have to follow, but also this is a challenge, because the most important challenge is make something that is, let's say, nice and also functional.
Okay, but there
is the objective.
more like a dialogue, because for example in the architectural process the architect is the designer and everybody else needs to possibly work around this design, like if you of course if you create something like the Pisa Tower and the engineer says okay, it's not possible to do it tilted at any chance, you cannot do it. But yeah, it's like an interesting process that you explained. And do you get any skills or any lectures about how the manufacturing of the different parts work, or this is also a too advanced phase? And also, I was curious, like how to control these geometries, because cars are not like I mean, there are some crazy buildings around the world, but they not even the craziest building doesn't have, I think, the if you take, I don't know, a bumper of a car, the bumper itself has a way crazier shape as, I don't know, any building. So, or yeah, or the any, if you separate the different parts of the car, they're not regular geometry, they're very specific shapes. So do you teach also how to control this?
Let's say I haven't a really technical approach, but I want to answer, and you give me this open a topic in my mind, just I can give example. For example, you told me about the bumper. A designer can think about how can make an innovation in the bumper. Let's watch about in 2010. I just want to open as an example. I remember 2010, 2013, Citroën made a car. The name is C Cactus, and they have this kind of bumper that they are made to like limitate the touch with the other car. So it's kind of made with soft material, and also it has also a cool design. I mean, that's the beautiful things. Like this object is thinked, is processed, but also it has a nice project. There is a design inside. There is a design process. So it was well think, and I think it was a collaboration between the engineering that can offer some solution and the designer can provide to all together to make something innovative. That, let's say, it depends, of course, every time the place where if you are in a really innovative place, there is this kind, and you have technical skills, that's are really important. You of course you more, if you have in your mind, that's are really important, but it's not must be. It's not something must to follow, because sometimes also you will learn inside the company. If some company requests that, maybe you need to have this approach, but sometimes it's not necessary. I mean, until my experience of now, I haven't faced it too much, that kind of stuff. But of course, it's important. I don't say no. Because making innovation a solution is really important in this kind of workflow, as you mentioned before.
I understand. And like, what was your final project? What did you design as a final graduation project? What was your topic, or what was your dissertation, if you want to call it that way?
My project, it was with I was intern in Renault design, and the thesis project, it was about an object. Let's say that's why that changed my brain, because the project was a kind of car that is not a real car. It's a micro vehicle. Let's say that the name is the Renault Twizy. I don't know if you haven't seen on the street. Maybe sometimes there are some, and it's like an electric vehicle, a small vehicle for 2 person. It's like really small, designed for the city. And the project was to make the next Twizy. The process was really interesting, and also the work was really nice, because that makes me a different approach, because I didn't design a sports car or just a car. I was designing an object that can combine the industrial design part with the car design part. And that was really cool. I mean, that is kind of, after that, I'm really became interested in this kind of stuff. And I developed a lot of my design language in a kind of way. I always try, as you said before, I don't draw directly cars with 4 wheels. So I make a lot of research about what will happen in the future, what we can imagine, how can be the future vehicle. And that was really interesting. So I really can say I was lucky to do a project like that. And also it was thrilling to make, to me, internship in Renault, because it was my dream. Like, it was fun that 2 years before I had on my desktop the image of the Renault Twingo, the sketch of this kind of designer. And then I was in Renault, and I was, wow, I'm with the designer. He designed the car, and 2 years before I had the wallpaper, and I was, wow, that's amazing. It was a kind of realization of a dream.
I'm curious. How did you find this internship? At what point? And
Okay.
where did you need to go for the internship?
No, it was strange. Let's say our university, it was in that year, it was making a kind of experiment. They decided that everyone has to make a personal thesis project, and of course there was a group thesis project. So we had 2 thesis projects basically. The group one was sponsored by one design company, design car maker. So everyone was doing like a project working that company. So everyone was, and the personal one was like an experimentation. So you have to find a company, you have to propose yourself, and find, and then they can sponsor you, and you can follow a kind of process. And I had this possibility because there was a guy the year before me. He was in my university. He was doing internship in Renault. I asked to him, I would love to make thesis degree project for Renault. Is there any possibilities? He say, okay, I give you the contact. So he make me contact with this guy that his name is Luciano Bove. And he's at the time he was a design manager in the R&D studio of Renault Design. And I had a kind of possibility. I sent my stuff. I proposed myself. He accepted. So we started the degree project. It was really interesting because your approach is not only like is already you are approaching with a company, with a car maker, that it was like completely different to make the project in your university. And for me it was interesting. After that, I had also possibility to have internship, and I developed my degree project. And it was really interesting because they offer me the possibility to have internship there, and I say, wow, I should go immediately.
But did you go to
Yeah, it was a
France? In which, or where did you?
yeah. I went to France for 6 months at the Renault headquarters. It
In
was
which,
amazing
in which
experience
city? In
because
which city is that?
the studio is located 30 kilometers far from Paris, and the city is Guyancourt. And yes, it was amazing because it was my first experience. Even though it was France, you really find a lot of problem. I mean, because you are in France, you are not in Italy. It was really my first experience, my first internship. Everything was like wow. From the university, in one day I was boom in this big headquarter with like a lot of people walking around because it was like a city. Let's say it was like a city. Renault, the headquarter in Guyancourt. It was like what? Of course, you are bit. What's happening here? But it was a nice experience.
And on a personal level, did you have any cultural shock when you moved to France? Like, was it difficult to, I don't know, get friends with the locals because there is a little bit of a beef too between Italians and French people, and I don't know. For example, for me, when I arrived in Germany, it was a little bit difficult because people are very different. You know, although it's just an hour flight away from Italy or 1.5, you land in a completely different language, completely different culture. People a little bit more in the beginning, they're a little colder until they don't know you very well, then they get very friendly. And in Italy, everybody are friendly like right away. And I don't know.
Let's say the first period was really hard. I mean, I can say thank you for making that experience, but it was really hard. But from one side, it was better to make experience like this, a really hard experience immediately, than like if I never do this, I never maybe move to Japan. Never. So let's say the first 3 months, I was not with a lot of friends. But I made a lot of friends inside the studio. So I was hanging out with a lot of guys of the studio that I still keep the contact with some of them because they are really brilliant. It's amazing. Like the most talented people are the most humble people. I can say that. There was a bunch of talent inside, really nice person, nice people that can understand you are an internet are for far, and they were really available. So they say, Chris, hang out with us, don't worry, there is no problems. What? Really? Wow, amazing. So just it was like, also I can tell you my English was terrible. I arrived there and it was wow. I have to I learned everything, so it was, oh my god.
But were the people international or mainly from France, or what was
No,
how was the team?
the studio was international, so I had possibilities to meet people from several countries, but also the much more. I'm talking about the design area is a mix of French and foreigners. But I can say the most friends I keep friendship they were for foreigners. They're foreigners. I met people from Russia, Belarus, Hungary. I don't remember Bulgaria. Everywhere they were so cool. Oh, China, Japan. It was amazing. It was amazing, and
And
it was fun.
yeah,
It
no,
was
keep
fun that
going.
I was Italian and I can compare. Oh wow, that's is how they think. So for me, it was everything new For me, it was everything new.
I can imagine. I can imagine also if it was the first long-term international experience abroad, that must have been interesting for you. And then you came back to Italy to complete your studies. And how long did you stay in Italy? And how did you find the job in Japan? How did you end up in Japan after this whole experience?
I want to tell you this more open. So I was finishing my study because the situation is with this internship, I had to extend my degree term from June to December. So I had to postpone my degree. And that was from once I was a little bit of trouble because I back to Turin. From once I was cool because I also had those possibilities to work in some project as a freelance with a Japanese designer in Turin. We had a project together and it was an interesting experience. So like immediately after the internship, I was already doing this. And same time I was doing the degree project, finishing the degree, preparing for... but at that time there was these things. Renault cannot hire me. There was no possibilities at that moment. So also there was a bit crisis. It was around 2014, end of 2014. It was a strange period. And then I start to say, okay, I have to send my portfolio everywhere. But my mindset was to stay in Italy, honestly. So I sent to design studio in Italy. So the problem was I still didn't have the degree. And I made the interview before. And they say to me, let's wait for your degree. And then we start maybe the process. Yeah, and I can tell you, when I call back again, oh, we are someone other. No, Chris, we don't need you. Thank you so much. That was a problem because I was in Turin finding an opportunity. So I found an opportunity. I continued to stay in Italy. I worked for 4 or 5 months in a design consultancy studio. I worked for Chinese brand, Russian brand. About car, it was car design, and also I worked not only in cars but also in truck design. That was really amazing because truck design is already another knowledge. You need to think more about is a kind of industrial and car design processing together. Is a mixing of everything, and it's really cool. It was really cool. It was amazing. That I say, oh, in the future I say to myself, oh, if I found also truck design, I will go for sure. Something like that. Then what's happened? I left this company because it was a little bit there was many trouble, let's say, and it was not something I was looking for. I stopped the job. For a while I was teaching assistant in my university, and meanwhile I was teaching assistant. That was good. Also that was another super experience because you can understand how the teacher the effort of the teacher. So when you are a student, you just think that the teacher is, oh no, he's talking a lot, oh blah blah blah, he's just criticizing my design. No, he's making a lot of effort to you. And was really, I learned a lot from this experience. And also meanwhile there was a situation, I start to continue to send my portfolio everywhere because I say I want to be in the car design industry. I start to say to myself, oh Chris, Italy maybe in this moment there is not the good condition. Why don't you try everywhere? So after that there was this proposal to go to Japan. There was the funniest things because I had possibilities. There was 2 different companies, one to go to Japan and one to go to China. And I decided to go to Japan, and I never been in Japan. So I let's jump, let's go, let's try. We made the interview, we made all the process, and then I jumped into this adventure.
But did you apply to someone that was in Italy and then they send you to Japan, or did you apply directly to Japan? And how did you do did they do some online interviews with you? And also, what was the visa problems that you needed to solve to go to Japan? Because I guess as someone from Europe to go to Japan, you need to like apply for visas and things like that. Was that hard? Like,
It was not hard. It was long process. Let's say if difficulties for visa was not really problem. I mean, visa for Japan was one of the most easy project, process. Most long process was more of organize everything like contract, prepare everything to leave. It was the most difficult things. I didn't felt too difficult. It's just I wait a lot. I wait almost 6 months to since I received the first time proposal to the leaving to Japan.
and
It was long. It was a bit long.
and how did you do the interviews online? Like they you just send your papers and the interview were online?
No. I forgot to say. Sorry. The company is a Chinese company in Japan. So I went for an interview in China. It was amazing. It was my first international flight. I fly just to make the interview. So it was like 3 days. I fly, interview, go back. It was crazy. It was crazy.
And did you need a visa for that? And how?
Yes. And the visa process for when at time before Corona and everything, get the visas because basically you get the visa for business. It's really basically easy because you have the invitation letter from China, they give it, and then is everything easy to do. Of course, now it's much more difficult to in this moment if you wanna.
Yeah. Did you
if you wanna do like that.
Did you get the flight at least paid from the company, or you needed to spend your own
No,
money?
at that moment, the company paid that for me.
Ah, so it was actually nice. Like you were.
Yeah. It was cool. It was cool because they show you all the facilities. They show me everything. It was really interesting. Also because it was my first fly, like 10-hour flight from Italy to China. It was crazy, but thanks to that, I made this experience because before I never do that. I never.
How when you visit the facilities in China, like I don't know if you can say at which company you were. How was your experience compared to what you knew about from Renault? Like, was it very similar? Was it more advanced? Was it?
Let's say is compared with the other is kind of work. Let's say something work in progress. When I joined to this company, I joined because there was the work. It was like the kind of interest to make something advanced. That's why I joined. But of course, when I was there, I can say this. It was kind of shocking for me. First of all, I visited the factory, and the number of cars they produce just for one model. There was this screen, and there was like 6 different models, and 1,000 car per day of every models. That is kind of number if you calculate for 1 year. So it's a kind of crazy number. Crazy number compared to Europe. I mean, is kind of how much produced. And also was crazy when I visit the factory. They say, "Wow, we are here," and they point me, "You are here." And then you see this big model, like I feel like a ant, really small, really. Oh, I say, "Wow, it's so big and so crazy." The things is. In China, there is a lot of thrilling, and I add this. Sorry, it's a bit out of topic, but I want to share this. It's amazing what in China there is the situation about car design is crazy. How much they produce, productivity, capacity, and that's it. Of course, there is still kind of keep missing about design taste. That's the challenge of the designer now, finding a kind of, which is the next design language for the Chinese customer. That is something we will know maybe in 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, I don't know yet.
But there is also the issue that they don't mind to copy like things because I remember once there is this famous Top Gear episode where they go to China and pick some Chinese cars, and there were so many that were basically copies of, I don't know, the smart car or some BMW or things like that. Is there a change in that orientation that they start producing their own models? And I don't know, are they trying to attack foreign markets also? Because of course these copies, they're okay for China, but I don't think they're gonna be sold anywhere else.
Exactly. But about copy, I want to say the situation is changing a lot. I mean, there are a lot of company they design to build their design. I mean, they are creating their design language, and I can say the level is increased a lot. I'm really surprised. There are some company I can mention, like if you can, like Neo is making something that is really all are something over the design. Is not only car design, it's a kind of process about everything. They are studying everything, and also it's kind of feeling that that is not only for Chinese market, but also in the future that car can be easily sold in Europe or in America. It's like, let's say, the most representative brand about phone in this moment, I'm talking about Chinese phone like Huawei or Oppo. Some car maker are doing the same in the same way. For soon they will come to Europe, but they will not come with a copy. They will come with their own original design. That is changing. I think there is a positive change, and it will be like that, because at the end you will never buy a copy of a copy in the other market. Maybe in China could be this situation will never, we don't know, maybe we don't stop, but maybe also generation mindset will change, and they were looking for something that is not copy but something original, and then that's happened. So it will be, I think it will be a nice future, and that it will be interesting and challenging, not only because also European brand, American brand, they will follow and they will watch them, and they will is like for when Koreans started, is the same process, just the China is pretty bigger.
Slightly bigger, yeah, that's true. And okay, I guess that the interview which you participated on was successful because now you're living in Japan. How was when you arrived in Japan? I guess there was a big culture shock, no? Because I mean, I can imagine that Japan, if France was different, Japan, everything is way more different, I guess. So what were the difficulties personally and work-wise also? I don't know if there were any.
Let's say experience is super amazing. I mean, especially for the first year and half, I was sometimes I was walking around Tokyo or Yokohama, which I live. I live in Yokohama, and I was watching these big buildings and say, "Wow, but really, I'm in Japan." I was for me was still not realizing that I was in China. Sorry, in Japan, and it was crazy. I mean, it was really the first year and a half. I really was without too much thinking, but after 2 years, 3 years, you start to realize how difficult it is here. So it's not easy. Like many people say, "Oh wow, you are in Japan. Wow, you are that school." Or I say yes, but many people say, "Oh, I visit Japan and it's cool. People are respectful." I say yes, but try to live. Live is different than make a travel. Travel, you will see just a face, but life and context of work here is really hard. There is the culture of the overtime job. There is this culture of pyramidal scheme. I cannot hide this. It's normal, and I don't criticize. It's something that here works like that. Like in here, it works like that. You are a designer. You are 10 years in design company, and you're still a designer. There is possibility to grow, but after 3-4 years, I feel yes and no. It depends, of course, which company you're working for and where are you stay. But after 3-4 years, you really realize a lot of different issue. The shock part is like, I mean, you have to be really. Sometimes I'm Italian and I'm really, let's say, free to think. Sometimes it's difficult. Here, there are many rules. There is every strict, but I'm not criticizing. I have to accept because Japan is the same as in Italy. That is important, and that's also understood that it might possible my future will be not here, even though I respect everything. I mean, at the end, it's nice, but you face a lot of problem after 2-3 years, because the first 2 years you don't notice. You just enjoy. You visit place. You eat different food. You make for me everything. Many people say, "Oh, you facing different food. Where is the problem? I love it." So I had these possibilities to try many things, travel, see different things, going to the culture that is crazy. Sometimes it's completely opposite how they think the people here, and that's the maximum things I can say.
Is there something that you like personally have found out in the Japanese culture that you will take away with you no matter where you go? Because, for example, no matter where you go, like even in Germany, when I arrived here, you in the beginning, as you said, it's difficult because the first period of time it's nice because everything is new, but after generally this period of time when you move abroad lasts around a year, and then your daily life starts being your daily life, and you don't see it anymore as something new. You see it as your daily life. You have your problems, you have your life, and but unconsciously you get somehow changed by the local culture because you live in this environment, and maybe some pieces of this culture remain into you no matter where you go. Is there something of the Japanese culture that you think, okay, this thing I really think it's a valuable part of the culture, and I'll keep it with me because I appreciate it, I like it?
Let's say I take one things. Let's say I'm glad to come to Japan because there is one part like here is really there is a lot of order. Everything has a order. Everything has a schedule. Everything is planned. I don't take 100% of this because I'm absolutely, my mind is completely opposite. But I can say I will take with me these parts. I can say that is something I learned, and I love it. So I don't want to take 100% because it's crazy, but let's say 50%. I will be already okay, because I'm a kind of people that doesn't have order, doesn't have schedule, doesn't have anything. But this is important, having a schedule, fixing. For example, I learned a lot from this, and this is something that unconsciously you do.
Yes.
Even though I prefer to be myself, because sometimes I see many people, a lot of foreigners, they became really strict, but I see inside of them they suffer. I don't want to be like that. Also, I don't like one things. Many people say to me, I have to survive. In Japan, I come here. I want to live my life. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's good. And I don't want to say I want to survive. I want to live my life. Even though there was a lot of, especially this year, last year, 2020, it was really hard. It was one of the hardest year in my life. But at the end, it was a great experience that also I grew by myself and I learned a lot. And that's, of course, parties order and parties also this country give me something. I cannot say nothing. I cannot say something, oh, I hate this. No, I don't have anything. It's just there is the pro and the good things and the bad things,
Yes.
as everywhere.
And work wise, what did you learn like in this experience? Let's say this was your like so to say second big experience or third big experience, because you have worked at Renault, then in Italy at the consultant companies, and this is like now working officially for a car company. Professionally, what did you learn, and maybe something that you have discovered in this experience, or what are your takeaways from this experience?
I faced a lot with the different design process. Let's say European design process is almost similar. In France is in one way, in Italy is another, but they are almost similar between them. Japan is completely different. Let's say also Asian workflow is completely different from European. And so if you are European and really creative, can be a pro, because I can say sometimes I feel around people are super creative architecture, super creative stuff, but sometimes I feel wow, why the designers there doesn't express this creativity like this architect or this. That is a bit lack of things I feel in this current moment in Japan. And I hope the next future designers, which I know I have a lot of Japanese friends, the young generation already are doing much better than the old generation. But I think this is also connected with the economical system, period of life, because in the past Japan was in the 90s. Japan was was the third world country about economical financial, so everything was good. So it's also like maybe when you are in a good condition, you are less hungry, let's say. I can say, for example, compared in China, there is more hungry people. In Europe, so when the system is good, you feel less hungry, and I feel that. And I'm someone that is really hungry, basically. I want to learn day by day, and I became hungry since I started to join Japan. And I want more, I want more, I want more. It's like, I don't know, just to describe. Have you seen just for example in Matrix, when Neo is learning all the karate, when he's learning all the karate stuff, I was like this. Suddenly it was in my brain, please put me more, I want more. It's like this. And it's not only about that. That's why from one side I say thank you for this, because I open a lot my creativity. It was a boost, even though sometimes facing with people, sometimes facing with the old generation designer, it's a little bit tough, because sometimes it's different to face, because I feel young designer, still young, even though I'm 28. And you face with more experience, and it's really difficult sometimes to face. And also you have a different culture
I
point of
understand.
view.
And you said you were like hungry for more. Are you hungry for more knowledge and for more design skills, or do you have any career goals, personal? Like, is there for you any dream position or dream achievement you want to achieve?
And that's a nice question, because now this world is changing a lot. I'm talking about design. 10 years ago, maybe you dream, oh, I want to design cars for this and that. But I feel like I want to just be a good designer, that if I have the possibility in the future to draw, let's say, to say, wow, I draw this interior, wow, I draw this car, just for my personal object. But we don't know yet, like it, for this kind of things needs also time, and needs of course is like, I will be not the designer, you work as a team, but be part of a team, will be great. And I hope also soon to find, like for me it's more like to find the good company that I can fit my design philosophy. That doesn't mean I have a dream company. Important is there will be in the future a nice place to make a good project. It's like that's my dream place now. Before it was like more, I want to work for a brand, but now it's changed a lot my mind.
What
Because
what in your understanding is a good project? What do you think it's what do you mean by saying a good project?
good project for me means a place which you can think about what you draw. Means before to draw something, behind that a good design needs to be a good concept. Like you have time to think about what is a good concept, a good project, and you have also time to draw and sketch, make the idea, work with a team that can have the same maybe point of view, and then you can create something beautiful. Because in most of the place you will find some people you will agree, some people no, but it's okay, it's normal, no? But finding something like this, I think, will be the magical. Still, I think I'm a bit dreamer, no? It's like the magical things. And after that, you have like this kind of cool issue, that you have an object that is think, and not just is made for making number in production, just because that company needs to sell, but just something that can satisfy the people, and then can be useful. Can be a usage for the customer, and not just is just another production stuff that you just need for, oh, I want to just buy a car because this is cheaper. No, I hope that in the future someone can buy a car because there is a, maybe there is no only can be cheaper, affordable, but also can be a good project behind, a good shape, and people can say, oh, I want this, and not only for express their ego. Maybe there is something useful inside that you can utilize. I hope to find this kind of things. In the future we'll be out. No, sorry.
You mean like because just to understand better, like you mean that, for example, some car companies, they would design something that it's not that good looking, but they know it's easy to produce. Some other car companies will design something that is just beautiful but not useful, just so that people think it's cool. And you want to find the sweet spot in between where you design something that's useful but in the same time beautiful.
It's like the dream of every car designer, I think. Yes.
And what do you think? What do you think? Because you talked about a lot about innovation, about this world is changing, the car industry. the car design is changing. What do you think it can be something useful in the future, and what are the directions where we're going? And yes, what do you think? What is from your personal experience, from what you research, from what you're in the industry? What are your views on the future?
If I can answer a little bit out of the box, I will give you my answer. So I always image a future that the object car is well integrated, maybe with house, or well integrated with something. So the future will be not like we are just not thinking about the car, but what is around this car. That is really cool. I mean, it's thrilling me. Like, oh, can be something with autonomous driving. Oh, that's cool because you can think about a lot of things. Autonomous drive in the future, you can drive a car. You can design a car that it has in the interior part. You can design. It depends. Let's imagine you can design something that has a room. You are kind of have a living room inside. Of course, we need to have a system for that, but that's just an image, and that's just the next challenge. How the future will change. The future will change in this direction. There will be not only cars with four wheels, but there will be they will become more like object, more like your house will be your home, your car, or there will be many infinite solution, yes, like this,
Like
a lot of many multiple solutions. Yes. Sorry.
Well, if I can imagine that the future is like electric, you have basically this very flat base where the batteries are. You will have the motors directly on the wheels, because I guess that electric cars have like each wheel has sort of electric motor that moves the wheels. And then if you have this autonomous driving efficient system, then you can use this what we now imagine as a car can look very much different, because you don't need anymore the whole part of the engine in front or in the back. You'll have sort of a capsule inside which, I don't know, maybe when traveling, instead of seeing it like you can do, I don't know, you can sleep, watch movies, I don't know, do whatever. Like if you scale it up, you can just like be in your living room and traveling. It can be crazy.
Yes, you are I completely agree on your image. That's really like what I feel. But already, if you just watch the current electric car, the shape are completely different, because the package, how the electric battery are, the position of electric battery, for example, can be put in the middle of the car in this current moment, and the platform change. Different platform can allow different shape, and from this will be a new challenge and also cool, because we are talking about now, but in the future, with the increasing and the changing of the technology, we will have something, as you say, we will have capsule, we will have a lot of different things.
Yes, and
that is it's a really challenging, and it's really thrilling for me.
I mean, when you now see also an electric car on the streets, it looks different already, because you don't have all these airflow grids and stuff like that, which you need for a engine with a combustion interior combustion. So it's already the shape they're starting to change and play with it. So it's gonna be interesting. And so what do you have any short-term personal career goals where you want to move next? What you want to learn more? You mentioned that there is like designers that are more focused on the interior or on the exterior. What do what is your focus now? On which kind of projects you want to work?
Can I say in these 4 years I was interior designer, so I would love to continue this path. I would love to follow this path. Interior car design, because I'm talking about concept. I'm more conceptual in interior car. I can express much better, and I have fun. When you have fun on something, you need to continue. It's like this. But if in the future there will be a company and they say, Chris, we need you as an exterior, I say, I can accept the challenge. It's not for me. Everything is like a challenge. And as a short term, for me is honestly, I don't want to go back to Italy now. I think even though there is Corona, and I'm really sorry because sometimes I would love just to go back and stay with my parents. That is really important. But I feel in this moment there are a lot of thrilling experience to do, for example in China or in America, in United States. Even though now United States has a little bit difficult to get the visa, it's not really easy. I can say there is a lot of movement for designer. I think, I don't know as an architect if there is the same, but I can say many designers are moving worldwide. When the Corona finish, I think will happen. Also, a lot of fresh young students will move a lot. I almost every time suggest to move to the people and learn, because really I'm glad to have experience in Japan, but it's not about for success in the work, but in success in the life experience. And yes, the short term will be like this, continuing to move somewhere.
Architects generally move from where there are no jobs to where there are some jobs. But there is a lot of movement also worldwide. Some people move across Europe. Some people go to places like Dubai, or they go a lot in Indonesia and parts like that of the world, wow. Australia. But it's a little bit different because it's regulated. You have to have a permit to design, so you'll be working for someone. But it's possible. A lot of people, like the beautiful part of architecture, and this is also one of the reasons I studied it, that people are the same everywhere around the world. They're pretty much the same size, and what changes is a little bit the climate, and what changes are the local materials. So, but the shape of the buildings, like the, you know yourself, like the anatomy of a person and the ergonomics are the same. So it's pretty much you can work it anywhere there are people.
Anywhere.
In the last few, I want to conclude our conversation. In the last few weeks, in the last few months, we're trying to collect a big pot of the different inspirations for our guests. When you need inspiration, is there some place, song, movie, book, or website that you like to enjoy? What is your inspiration? Where do you find inspiration?
I can tell you, there is one place I really love in Tokyo. First of all, I love to walk in Tokyo. Sometimes I take my bag, I take my sketchbook, I take my pen, I go around Tokyo just to walk. I stop in a coffee, and I start to, if I have inspiration, if I'm really full of energy, I start to draw. But another place that I really love, there is this bookstore in Tokyo. The location is Dankayama, and all of my friends say me, is a place that I really love. And it's like when you are sad, the lack of inspiration, I go just there. There is a beautiful section about car design, and I watch car design. But sometimes I'm bored of car design. I start to watch fashion design. I start to watch architecture. I start to watch everything, because it's like, oh, okay, I can get inspiration from architecture. I can get inspiration from here, for that. There is not only one field. Sometimes I just spend hours, for example, in cooking, in the cook stuff, food stuff. Wow, I'm amazed. And then I have new inspiration for my sometimes private project, or sometimes also this is still in your mind that you use maybe at work. Why not? That's cool. That is the coolest things.
Yes, so this is a good tip for people who are visiting Japan and Tokyo. And one thing that I don't want to forget is that you also have your own podcast, which is more focused on car design, right?
Yeah, yes. And that's cool because we met through social, and we had this opportunity to talk and talk about different argument. Yeah, 1 year ago I opened a CD Podcast. Is the name of my podcast. I talk basically about car design, but I don't want to talk about only pure car design. I want to focus more on the people around, talk about their concept, what they're thinking, if they have other interest. Let's say I don't focus really on car design to 100% because I think after if you make many episodes, then it will be a little bit boring. It's like fun to have many different point of view and see that also car designers as a life. So also as architect and creative people. That is really important. The meaning of this talking is that show to the people that there is no behind an artist, behind an architect, behind a designer. There is a people with a lot of big sensibility and also with a big talent. A lot of people I met all over the world, they have talented not only in their field, in their job, but a multi-talent, and that's super beautiful.
And then you have a big passion because, like in your case, you said yourself that in the beginning you weren't the most talented guy in the school, but you were very motivated and you spent hours and hours on working on your passion. And with work, you can achieve the results you want. So this is also a very important side of the whole thing. So where can people listen to this podcast, on which platforms, and where they can find more about you online on social media or websites?
About the podcast, I have the page on Instagram, and also it's possible to listen on Spotify, Google Podcast, let's say the most important page. But of course, you can find easily on the podcast. There is the link in bio, and then there is the connection. So it's still it's a, let's say, my funny side project. So it's still in continued evolution. And of course, you can also find my drawing. I have another page. The name is Design for Breakfast because it was my old blog about car design, and is on Instagram. Because I also sometimes like to show my drawings to public, so why not? There are many people, I say why not, and sometimes I put my in that page I put my challenge, my contest. There are a lot of things, and also you can find me on LinkedIn. So if you have some people have some question, I'm open.
I will be adding all these links in the description of this podcast so that people can just scroll down and find you. I want to thank you very much for your time. We managed to do it despite the distance and the time difference. And it was very interesting to discover this new field. You're our first guest from the car design world. So thank you very much, Chris. Thank you. And you're welcome to come back anytime you want.
Thank you so much for everything. I'm really glad. I enjoyed a lot, and it was a good opportunity to have the point of view with a different field that sometimes is really rare, and I'm really glad of that. So thank you, and I hope this podcast can continue because the project is really cool. I love it. I'm listening your episode. I'm like, since I met you now, slowly I'm listening all your episode, and I suggest to everyone to continue to listen.
Thank you.
It's really cool.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you too.
Hey friends, thank you very much for listening to this podcast. You've been amazing. Before we go, I just want to remind you that if you want to support us, you can just go on the creativeinsider.com where you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter, or you can follow us on our social media channels, which are Instagram at TCI Podcast or the LinkedIn page, The Creative Insider. By doing this, you will have a bigger social media presence, which always looks attractive to more and more important guests. And so this is very fundamental. And if you really love what we do and you want to help us doing a better production, just click on the Patreon link below where you can support us with the wished amount of money you think it's okay for you. It's a monthly subscription, but you can cancel anytime. So thank you very much and have a good week, guys. Bye bye.